Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Calling. It's our first responder and veteran podcast that we like to put a lot of information out there about services that are available, things that are going on, and certainly even talking about some stories that are a little bit harder dealing with PTSD, certainly mental health and addiction issues. But it's really to honor the people who do great work with our first responders, our veterans, and of course to honor them for the work that they do for us. Having said that, I want to remind you, please like this show, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends if you like the show. If you don't like the show, then like it twice and share it twice, and then you'll learn to like it. That's we'll just do it that way. I've got Sean MacPhee here with us. And Sean, right now you are currently working with the United Way Veteran Services, the Mission United with United Way. Let's start off. We were just talking. You grew up in the north, up in Connecticut, or sorry, Vermont, and great growing up there. You enjoyed it up there?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially up in that area. I mean, the tough part about it is 80% of the state is either farmland or a state park.
Right.
So trying to find stuff to entertain yourself when you're a kid can be quite difficult. But it was great. It was clean. Very little crime. The schools are phenomenal, and the things that I learned over the years, and it was always great. I never really had any issues growing up. I mean, growing up in farm country, we all collaborated, got together, and never really had any issues. Spent my summers, haying on the farm or, doing those typical things, collecting eggs. So it was a great time.
Well, you went into the U.S. Navy for 24 years and spent 20. And thank you for your service again.
Thank you for it.
Was that something that was just kind of in your family, or was that your upbringing that said, I want to be in the service, or how did that come about for you?
Well, I do come from a long line of military individuals, and primarily almost all of them, except for my brother, decided to want to join the Army, but all of us were Navy.
Yes.
My father, my aunt, my grandfather, all of them at one point or another served in the Navy over the years. I didn't join the military straight out of high school. I was kind of like, I don't want to do that. I don't want somebody telling me to, where to be and what. And just, as I said, growing up in farmland, it's, driving 45 minutes an hour one way for a minimum wage job just wasn't cutting it. So I had enough and decided. So I drove down to Recruiter and say, here I am, let's go. And
I often wonder why people would pick a certain branch, because my grandfather was Army, my brother was Navy, my son was a Marine. So what is it that draws you to a certain branch of the service? It's just a silly question.
No. I've actually gotten that question over the years.
Okay.
Now, some people, it depends on, family.
Yeah.
It's what they know. Some depends on what they're looking to get out of the service, because each branch has its own specialty areas or things that they bring to the table, so it depends. I've met individuals in the Navy who couldn't swim, but they grew up in an inner city, and it was the only recruiter that was near them that was willing to talk to them.
Wow.
Yeah. And it, the common little joke is like, I told them, like, what would you do if the boat sank? I mean, and they would go like, well, I grab a life vest. And it's like, okay, so what would you do if you're not near a life vest? He goes, just hope I don't go overboard with you. But, I've always been a water kid. I grew up lakes, rivers. Yeah. I've always enjoyed the water. And because I come from a long line, it's what I knew. That
was a big thing up north in the Northeast. Me and Syracuse and Vermont and stuff. You find these lakes, and they have their little beaches at these lakes. And summer was such a hot commodity, or a short commodity too, because you had like 2.5 months, 3 months of really comfortable swimming weather. Yeah. So you want to take advantage, right?
Oh yeah. Because I used to tell my kids when I was little, there was a river that was just down the street from my house. We'd be out there swimming and see a little crust of ice along, because that's what we were used to. You know, people thinking like we're losing our minds. Yeah, it's like, but it's what you know.
We are a little crazy up there.
Yeah,
we live in the snow. I mean, what do you want? But now we're down here. So 24 years in the Navy. Do you recommend service for people? Do you think it's a good thing for people to consider?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've done career days for my kids' schools and stuff like that. And yes, I do recommend the military, but it is not for everybody, because you have to have a certain mindset going in that it's not like a normal job where, you know, after 2 or 3 months, you're like, I don't like this. Like, you can't quit. You sign a contract. You have to be there for the length of time. The only way you're getting out is your contract are up or they throw you out.
Yeah.
But I've had conversations with, I remember one particular career day in Tennessee where we were talking about, and the kid was so anti-military, and we started talking about it. So let's talk about it. What do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I might like talk to us about me. I said, I have a 4-year degree that I got in 3 years. I said, you're going to go to school for 4 years. And when you get out, you're paying this amount of money, this debt. I said, do you know how much my degree cost me? $0. I said, it didn't cost me a dime. I said, they paid me to go to school. And then I bought and sold my books online. So at the end of the day, it cost me $0. I got a bachelor's degree and it didn't cost me a dime.
Wow.
Because they take your military career and the things that you do and they convert those into college credits because, you know, and then so I basically got a 4-year degree in just under 3 years.
That's fantastic. I know a lot of people sometimes look at the military as, you know, this kid's a problem kid. Let's put him in and straighten him out. That's probably not the best way to go in with that attitude that it's going to straighten me out and make me a better person. And you got to have some of your own drive, don't you?
Yeah, because I've run into those individuals that were kind of forced in by their parents or the legal system forced them to join the military, and they just weren't complying. They were just struggling through the whole thing. They were just, you know, they wanted to get out from day one. Yeah. But when you go in, you have to have a certain mindset, depending on which branch you want to join and what you want to do. Like one of the things, even though the Marines technically are not a separate branch, they are part of the Navy. But to be a Marine, you either got to like it or you're going to hate it. There's no in between because Marines are Marines. Marines are Marines for life. And I always told them, like anybody who's looking to get in, if you want to be a Marine, they're a small, tight group. They're the smallest of the forces, but they are a tight group. And if you're going in, you have to have that mindset. You have to, if you want to be a Marine, because Marines are Marines, regardless of what discharge they got when they get out, a Marine is a Marine for life. There are no ex-Marines.
Right.
So,
yeah. My son explains a lot of that to me, and they don't consider themselves a piece of anything else. Yeah, just in their heads, knowing they're a part of the Navy, but in their heads they're not.
Yeah,
but anyway, so you get out of the service, and now we were talking beforehand. I understand that you almost immediately walked right into veteran services and helping veterans. Was that something that was in your head at all, or was that just almost?
No, actually,
by happenstance.
It just happened to be in the right place at the right time. When I got out, I mean, being an enlisted ships navigator or quartermaster, for those that know, in the Army, that's a logistics branch, but in the Navy, it's a navigator position. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get my Merchant Marine license. I wanted to continue doing that during that process of looking for work, doing interviews, doing job fairs while I was working, because it's a long process. It's not something you can do overnight. Right. You have to take tests. There's background checks. And one of the jobs, the collateral duties I had when I was in the Navy was I was for about 1.5 years, I was a command career counselor. So I learned about all these services that were provided. So I went over to a veteran center and vet center in Pompano Beach, said, hey, this is where I'm looking for work. I'm going to need some training. And he's like, hey, listen, my wife works at Career Source over in Coconut Creek. Why don't you go over and talk to her? I went down there. We got to chit chat, and she introduced me what they call a DVOP. It's a Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist. It's a job that was created by the federal government, making sure that every American Job Center had a vet rep in it to help veterans whatever they needed. So we got to talking, and he told me what his job title was. And I said, it's kind of funny. I said, about a couple of weeks ago, I applied for that job on the state job board because it's a state position. He goes, that's funny. He goes, the program manager is here. She came over to talk to me, and she was a Navy officer. So we bonded right off the bat. My DBOP, my career counselor, he was an electrician and ET in the Navy. So we bonded right off the bat. And she's like, I think you would be great for this position. But for whatever reason, I never saw your resume. So we got to talking, and about a month later, they hired me.
All right.
So I worked for them for about 5 years, and it turned out to be more rewarding than I could ever imagine, helping my brothers and sisters overcome obstacles, whether it be housing, they need food, they're having issues with filing their claims.
Let me play devil's advocate here for just a minute, because you hear a lot of stories about veterans coming back and they're like, there's nobody's helping me. There's no services for me. I'm not getting what I need, or I'm not finding a way. Is it lack of knowledge of what's available? Is there a lack of services? I'm trying to really figure this out.
Oh yeah. That's a common. It's a lack of knowledge. Before 1990, there was no transition services whatsoever. At the end of your contract, have a nice day, figure it out. It wasn't until 1990 that a transition service was even put into play. 4 years later, after the study, they found that only 70% of people there's approximately about 150 military people leaving every year. If you think about that, before 1990, all those years, they were never told anything. Between 1990 and 94, when they did that survey at the end of the 4-year period, they found only roughly about 70% of vets were even participating in a transition program, and only 30% of that 70 even completed the process. And it wasn't until Obama signed the VOW Act in November of 2011 that made it mandatory that they had to go through a rigorous checklist of everything they do over a 12-month period. Then they would sit down with an independent contractor and go, okay, did they tell you about this? Did they tell you about this? Did they tell you about this? And at the end, you put your signature on it and say,
so this is part of now your exit process. It's no longer you just walk off. You have to go through this.
It's a requirement.
It's almost like a debriefing at the end of a minute. You have to have all this, and they want to make sure you know where you're going, what you're doing.
And they're clearly told that at the beginning, if you don't complete this process, you'll delay in your benefits until you complete the process either with the military or you complete it with the VA. So they're highly encouraged that over this 12-month period, you should click, because at the end, you don't get any benefits until you complete this process, because Uncle Sam wants to see that you understand. But you have to think, prior to 2011, all the way back, these individuals were never given any information. They would just say, hey, listen, if you want to go, you go. Some of them, because of operational commitment, couldn't attend any transition classes. That's millions of veterans that are leaving services that nobody tells them anything. I've met them years later, helping them now after being out for 20 years, helping them with benefits they should have got 20 years ago.
The only thing that's in their mind is they got the VA and that's it. I mean, I think that's been that was the standard for so long.
Yeah.
This exit process is brilliant to show people what's available. Is there also a psychological, I mean, this goes a little off topic, but they do a psychological assessment as well during that process, or is that something that they're not doing?
Depends on your command career counselor. Now, I happen to be a very thorough person. When I went through it, I made sure that every member that I was working, whether they were an officer or an enlisted, guiding them through that process, they should at least get a psychological evaluation before they leave, because it's good for them. Plus, it's a disability benefit that could help them down the road, so they can receive that medical treatment without fear of insurance or copays.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not always that way, because if you got a terrible career counselor, they just say, hey, here's the checklist, complete it, come back and see me in 6 months.
Yeah, that's no good, because we should be past that by now.
We should.
And that's maybe one of the things that, make that a mandatory, that you don't leave without completing it, because people are put at risk, But let's get back to the services now. So now you're ensconced in this thing and helping people find services and benefit, all these other things. What kind of things, give us just a normal GI Joe comes in and he's been in the service for 20 years and he comes out and he's like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I mean, sometimes people don't plan, they don't think, and they're just like, I have no idea. I've been driving a tank, so that doesn't translate to a city bus. I don't know what I'm going to do. They walk in. What kind of things can you do to help people?
Oh, definitely. That's one of the things that I love about Mission United is that their services now, where Career Source primarily focuses on job, Mission United focuses on the other half. The primary is housing. Services, we provide legal services if they need help, because we do have those individuals that they had a little snafu in their career. Maybe we can help them upgrade their discharge, because Fort Lauderdale has a veterans court where we can help them with legal aid to represent them to get whatever service, whether they need to get something, the charges lowered or dropped, or bring their disability up. Some of the other stuff we help them, we work very closely with Nova. Has a dental type program that we can help the vets with them that are having issues. But one of the things you're talking about also too is we actually have, now we're not an employment agency, but I do have quite a few coworkers that actually we used to work at CareerSource together that their job is to help them find employment. Do they need help connected with, let's help them with a resume. Do they need clothing? We have a connection with Urban League has a clothing closet. We can send them over, get interview outfits. Those are a lot of stuff that we can do for them. We can help them because we work very closely with our community partners. Like CareerSource has a phenomenal program where they can go in and take a test on what they like, they don't like, and help them try to figure out exactly what they're looking for. So that's how we partner with them.
And this is Mission United, which is a part of, we didn't quite explain it yet, United Way. United Way is one of the largest charitable organizations on the planet. I mean, just incredible. With incredible management, incredible operational standards that they follow. I worked with them in New Jersey when they were doing housing and helping people with certain things. And,
they're all over the world.
And they were, and down the street was, they worked with us. I was with a housing authority. They worked with the Red Cross. They worked with everybody, and just a brilliant organization. Now they got Mission United, which is devoted to veterans. Our people, like I said, I mean, we're kind of at that point where people don't know what's really available. So is it constantly the idea of you're still searching for different ideas and things, ways to help people? Or do you have like a set standard, or are you constantly looking to partner with others and do things like that?
Well, that's one of the reasons why Mission United brought me on for this particular role as a community outreach or community engagement, depends on which term you use it for, is basically because I'm bringing new ideas into from where my path is. We're trying to reach those areas of things that do differently. Those are the things that we're constantly collaborating, is because of all the people that I've been in touch for, even in my military career, that are here in Florida. We're always constantly collaborating on new ways of reaching out. One of the things that was phenomenal for us was that several of us got together, Steve Warner of the Vet Networking Group in Fort Lauderdale, Mission United, my boss, James, and, a couple of us who got together. It's like, listen, a couple of years ago, we saw the news where the National Guard was releasing hundreds of thousands of people because funding, they wouldn't get the COVID, shot. How do we reach these people?
Wow.
So I, through a lot of, researching, talking, and because my background as a command career counselor, having taught people about transitioning process, I reached out to Southcom and managed to get a hold of their TAPS coordinator. So we attend those TAP classes in Southcom continually as a group. We bring in community partners who are vet friendly. We bring in all those resources. So we're trying to capture them before they exit military service. And then we're trying to share that with other TAP classes throughout the country, trying to get them to mimic what we're doing here. Is let's not wait until after they get, let's talk to them when they still have 6 months, 12 months left to go, to tell them, like, listen, you may not keep this in your toolbox. It's somewhere along the line. If something goes wrong, you know who to call. You know or you run into that battle buddy or brother and where to send them when they need them. Or if you run a guy on the street, you have that in your toolbox to help us bring that to other parts of the country.
What kind of relationship does Mission United have with the military itself? Is there a good relationship? Is it symbiotic? Do you help each other? Are you getting funding from any military agencies or government agencies?
Well, we do get funding from federal grants as well as state grants. Those are a lot of, like the SSVF, the housing program, the HVRP, homeless. Those are a lot of the grants that fund our veteran side of the house. But as we don't receive anything, it's a symbiont when it comes to the VA, because I have a very close connection with their different departments within the VA, depending on what somebody needs, as well as some of my coworkers. Like I said, because we migrated from other groups, especially CareerSource, over where we had those connections already. So that makes it much easier for us. And then, like I said, we're trying to get the other Mission Uniteds to come on board in their areas, as well as we're trying to push it out to Mission United's only been in play for about 12, 13 years, but we're getting there. We're growing outside of Florida to different parts where other United Ways are asking us to show them our model.
This is where it started.
This is Broward County is where it started. Broward County had the very first Mission United.
Wow.
A lot of community partners and a lot of volunteers came together with United Way and said, listen, we have this problem. We have 40,000 vets that are homeless. How do we fix that? So they all came together and created Mission United as a here, and now here it is, 13 years. We're growing.
Obviously, with I think mental wellness is probably the number one thing we should all be concerned about. But I think the problem right after that, and which is a huge one, is the homelessness. What kind of numbers do we even? Would people be shocked at how many veterans end up homeless?
Yes, they would definitely be.
It's not something you like to talk about because everybody feels bad when you talk about it, but nobody's doing anything about it until now we're doing something. What are we looking at here? How bad is it?
We're getting better, but it's still a long road to go. I mean, especially the legislation is, on October 1st, where homeless encampments within city limits in certain regions is against the law. So we're trying to move as quickly as possible to get them off the streets. But yeah, we're talking about, at any given time, you got anywhere from 10 to 20,000 homeless vets in Florida. Here, I think we got roughly about 4,000 to 5,000 on any given day that are throughout Broward County that are homeless.
It's growing up in the Northeast, my experiences with homeless were very limited because people don't survive being homeless up in the north because of the winters and the different things. Mm-hmm. You still have it. There's a lot of it. But when you get down here to the warmer climates, a lot of them migrate down here just because you could survive. Mm-hmm. The numbers are staggering.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it? I mean, veterans come out and they've got, even with a great career and doing all these things, why is it so many veterans end up in this position? Is there any kind of commonality that you're finding here about why it happens?
Oh, yeah. Because even when I was in my last duty station in San Diego, there's Joe's Village is one of the largest, homeless shelters, and talking to their people about the reasons why people are homeless. And the shock of it is economics. They lose their job. They don't have a place to stay. There's not enough places. I mean, I think in my neighborhood, there's only 2 houses that are available in my entire neighborhood. I mean, it's very difficult. And then, they're raising the rents. They can't afford what they're getting. And a lot of that also adds to is depending on the time frame that they left military service, they're not aware. Or they were told, they think because they don't have a disability themselves, they don't have a missing thumb, or they never got a disability, they don't think they qualify. And that's the hard part, is trying to get out there. And I will tell you, there is a small, probably maybe 2 or 3% that don't mind being homeless.
Yeah, we could do that with any group.
We could do it in a group.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's people that just like, this is freedom for me, and they're happy. But it's, again, such a small percentage. The other people are they're hurting. They're lost. Yeah. And we live in I love the United States, and I love our country, and I know you do too. Mm-hmm. But there's some messed up stuff where you can go serve as a senator for 4 years, lose the job, but then get your full salary for the rest of your life. You go into the military and you're not getting those kind of numbers. I mean, and you could spend 8 years in the military, and then you do get some things, but it's not enough. And these people should be the highest honored people that we have in our society. But unfortunately, it's not. So this is a big problem. Mm-hmm. Number one thing that you deal with, I assume.
Yeah, the number one that we're focusing on is homelessness, is for especially or those at high risk.
Are you working with HUD and different things? Do you get vouchers?
We work things? Well. We don't. We can pay for like first month's, last month's rent, or we can do a security deposit. We can help them. The grant allows, I think, up to about 13 months that we can help them pay, part of their rent to help them, offset that. Recently, we purchased, I believe, about 14 units in Pompano Beach, because the city of Pompano Beach has been phenomenal in that field for homeless. Really? They have a lot of underutilized buildings and locations, so they've been selling those locations at a discounted price to nonprofits. Like Career Source bought a place up there. We purchased this, transitional affordable housing for vets. Right now, we're working with the city of Hollywood. We received a grant from the state for over $1 million. We're looking to find a location in Hollywood, working with different cities. So that's one of the things that we're trying to is where can we find a place that's affordable, that's willing to allow us to put these vets, because a lot of them, they're not drug addicts, or they're not, or alcohol issues. They just happen to have, they got a divorce. They don't have any money. They weren't whatever issues, we don't really want to call a handout. We're just kind of giving them a little lift to get them back on track. So
charity is not a handout. People get that. Lending a hand to somebody is part of our human responsibility. I think we give it a bad connotation. It's like, oh, I needed help. Oh my God, how horrible. But people need help. Are you out like seeking? How does this work? If somebody's watching this podcast and they're like, well, I know somebody, or maybe they're them themselves, or on the edge of losing their house or having a problem or something's going on. Do people reach out to you, or do you have specific people that you go and seek out? How does it work with you guys?
Oh, there's different avenues. You can reach out directly to us or Broward 211. They're another gateway for us that if a veteran reaches out and just dials 211, and they'll talk to a counselor and tell them, hey, I'm a vet. And what to do.
This is like a 911 situation.
Yeah, it's a 911.
You call 211, and that's for veterans.
It's 211 is for anybody within Broward. It's a helpline. You call them and tell them exactly what housing, medical, whatever you need.
Wow.
They'll connect you with that community partner.
How brilliant.
Yeah, so we collaborate very closely with Broward 211, that if a veteran comes along and they'll talk to them about what services, and then what they'll do is they'll refer over us, and then we'll take over. They'll send over whatever information that the veteran allows them to, contact, email, tell us exactly how we can reach them, and then we have, depending on which field, we'll have that individual reach out to them.
Wow. I assume that like I said, you walked into this thing, you had a different plan,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a pirate or whatever you wanted to be. You wanted to stay out. You wanted to be on boats and do your thing. You ended up doing this. Are you glad you chose this path? Are you glad this path found you?
Yes, it's a beautiful call. Even if we could be here for hours telling you all the stories of just those one individuals that just, even to this day, still tears me up, of helping a brother or sister out of a situation. There's nothing like it. It's just, if I just help one person overcome an obstacle that they didn't think about, that's all that matters to me. It's a passion and drive that I didn't believe I had until I was doing it, and I can't believe I'd be doing anything else.
Now, I know United Way as a large entity does ask for support and help, and they have drives and they have events and they have different things. Mission United, are they doing their own fundraising as well, or getting donations? If I wanted to donate, can I donate specifically to Mission United, or do I donate to United Way?
Both. We have a fundraising department. Actually, I'm working with a couple cities, and I met with a small business yesterday that was asking that particular reader, how can I do a fundraise? So I'm going to connect them with our director in that particular field and see how we can collaborate they want to do a fundraising for us, because we do get a lot of money from grants, but we do get funding from fundraisings, people donating or volunteering their time. So
there's also people that it feels good to be able to do that. If you make it through, and if maybe you're a veteran and you just want to honor and help other veterans, just even if you do a $20 donation or something, that's good for them too, to know that, hey, I'm not just going to, I could go to McDonald's, or I can, help this guy find a house or do something. So it's really important that people can do that. Is there like a website you can go to?
Yeah, you can go to United Way of Broward or Mission United of Broward. Either way, the two websites are connected. Okay. Because one of the biggest drives around, even though we started summer, we're already projecting for the school year. So right now our current fund drive is a backpack for veteran children for school. So if somebody wanted to donate, or if they want to donate the school supplies, either one works for us. So because we'll be giving the school children, as they get closer to the school year, giving them the school supplies they need.
So you're getting into a lot of different areas, and I guess it's hard just to say we only do this. You have to kind of be a jack of all trades. And like you said, with the partnership, so if somebody comes to you with maybe a serious issue with PTSD, you know where to send them and what to do with them and things like that. Right?
We even have a department dedicated to women veterans. They're always a veteran, because we're starting to see a lot more women veterans that, over the years, that didn't get the attention they needed. So now we have part of that drive focusing primarily on them.
I got to ask, do they suffer from different issues Is there something, maybe we hadn't considered? Because you're right, the number of women enlisted was lower.
Yeah.
Tradition. Now more and more women in the service.
Now they're
Do
allowed.
they face other problems that we don't think about as guys?
Well, one of the even when I was in, as women were being accepted into more combat roles, is the sexual assault issues, or those are some of the issues that fortunately come with the stigma that we have to. I wouldn't say it called stigma. We're trying to help them overcome. Not all of them have gone through that, but at some point or another, a lot of them have had either sexual assault, sexual abuse, or whatever. Those are some of those areas. Unfortunately, it's lesser in men, and if there is, men are less to report it than women are. So,
wow. Well, I hadn't even considered that, which I'm glad you brought that up. So, building that is a great program. You're helping the families of the veterans. You're helping everybody. What would you like to see happen with all these changes? Because we go back 25 years ago, none of this stuff was happening. No. Okay. You've seen a lot change in the time you're in the service and the time you spend out of the service doing this work. What is it we're still missing? What do we still need to do? What is something that is really important that we need to think about for the future as far as helping our veterans?
More of it is, as we were talking in the beginning, is knowledge. There's a lot of services that are available to veterans and their families. It's just the information is just not getting out there. I haven't even touched the surface of the things that the VA offers veterans that are, not to go off on tangent, but they have an ECHO program where you're taking care of a vet, regardless of age. You're their home care person. You're taking care of them, and the ECHO program will allow to come in and give you a break. They'll send somebody over to take care of your veteran so that you can take a breather, a mental day, a shopping day, or whatever. Those services are available, but very few people are even aware that exist.
Wow. Didn't even know about it. Didn't even know. See, that's amazing. That's what we need to do, is to spread the knowledge. And I guess things like this, getting more and more out there in the public. But we've made some good changes. We're heading in the right direction, right?
Definitely. Over the years, definitely seen a lot better changes. The VA went through a rough period, but they're bouncing back. They're getting better at being available, taking care of vets in a more timely fashion. And they're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. There's a slow process, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel eventually down the road where vets will get that information before they get out and get taking the things they need taken care of, so they could be, part of the community and, family members and stuff.
Here's a thought. We have a veteran that comes out and they spent time out there in the real world and they didn't need any help. They were fine. I'm cool. I'm good. I'm groovy. And they got jobs. And then things start to catch up with them. Maybe 10, 15, even 20 years after they've finished with their service. Is it ever too late to reach out and to get help?
No. Matter of fact, I met with the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs prior to this, and they were telling me a story about where they had met a 98-year-old veteran, and he didn't know all those years. I believe they said he was a World War II vet, and at 98, he came in for assistance, and they were able to provide it to him and got him the mental help, and he was suffering from PTSD. And yeah, so it's never too late, whether you're out a year, a 6 month, a day, or you've been out for 30, 40 years. Hey, if you come in and let's take a look. Now, the VA is typical. Proof is always a difficult thing when it comes to the VA. When somebody says this is a service connected, it takes a little bit, but we have those veteran service officers who work throughout the entire country. That's their job. Let's look at your medical. Let's see what we can find out. What can we help you with the process so you don't have to do it alone? And that's the same thing for us. If you came to us, hey, let's take a shot at it and see what we can do and see how much. 10% is better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Any positive movement can start a trend for somebody's life.
Yeah.
And, you can't take them all the way there, but if you can get them started, that's a huge accomplishment. And like I said, I'm sure you've had times when things didn't work out.
Yep.
Just like, me working with people with mental health and addictions, there's times when it's like, I did everything I could to help and it just didn't work. And that kills me in the inside. But it keeps me going every time I see somebody go through a miraculous change. Do you get to see that a lot?
Yes. I've had that opportunity, which is, like I said, is why, the drive that I do. If you don't mind, one of the things that gets me even to this day, still try not to tear up, is that we had a female veteran who was referred to us from Mission United, single mom of 2, fleeing a domestic issue. Mission United was taking care of the housing because it was during COVID. She came to me and she was determined that I'm not living underneath. Matter of fact, the car she was driving, she was borrowed from a close friend. And she was determined that she was not going to live underneath a bridge with her kids. And I sat her down. I helped her create the perfect resume that fit what she was looking for. We collaborated. And then she wanted to work in a medical office. And I found a medical partner that I had been working with, an employer that was looking for somebody to work in their office. And she had that admin military back. Perfect. Mm-hmm. I sent her over. About an hour later, she calls me all in tears going, I'm like, what happened? And she goes, the most miraculous thing that you can ever imagine. While she was sitting in an interview, this gentleman kept coming in and out of the interview room. And finally he came in like, listen, I'm going to put this interview at a stop. She was like, what did I do wrong? He goes, listen, I don't want you as an admin person. I need an office manager. I need you to be in charge. And can you start right now? And he was dead serious. He goes, can you start right now? We will fill out the paperwork before you go home today, but I need you to take charge because the office is falling apart and you have the skill set and the background that I'm looking for. Can you start right now? So not only did she walk into this place, she got a job that she wasn't expecting at a higher rate of pay than she was expecting. And within about 6 months, following up with her, because I stay in track with her after, loving her job, her company loves her. They got Mission United with introduction was able to help her find a place to stay, and enough to the fact that we found a dealership that was willing to give her a pretty good discount on their certified used car. Great. That still touches me to this day. That's what drives me, the fact that this no home, no job, no car, and within about 6 months, working in collaboration with the community partners, she's thriving and she's very happy at what she does. Those are what keeps me coming back.
That is insane. And it's not like you had to move mountains. You just had to show the opportunities. Yep. And the fact that she had a place to go when she was in that moment. And think about how many people are in those same moments she was in, and they don't believe they have any place to go. Mm-hmm. That's heartbreaking right there. Yeah. So we got to get the word out. Anything we could do here at Sober Life Studios, One Brother, One Sister, to get the word out. We're there for you. We could do videos. We do more of these if you want. We'll figure something out and really get the word out there. But I got to tell you, Sean, I'm impressed with United Way, with Mission United, and I'm impressed with you and your dedication to this. You have a family, and are they all supportive of this kind of stuff that you do?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I share. We talk. My oldest boy and my youngest daughter are currently still living at home with me for now. And we sit around and talk about the things that I see. Well, due to privacy, I don't give details. Yeah. But we share those things. Those are one of the things, even when the kids were little, we were talking about those small achievements. No matter how small it is, we always celebrate the small achievements. Today, I walked to school without tripping. Those are the things that we sit around and share. It's like everybody can talk about the negative stuff all day long, but we don't. We sit around and share about those small achievements, no matter how small they are, and so we share a lot. So
what a beautiful thing. Again, I feel I can't thank you enough for your time in the service and your time being of service. And we need more people like you out there doing the good work and spreading the word. And we need more of you to spread the word as well. When you know about this Mission United, you go to Mission United of Broward and on the online. If you know about it, tell somebody else about it. Don't just keep this stuff to yourself. Let people know. If you have any veterans or people just are getting ready to come out of the military and they're not sure what to do, let them know there's always something there for them. Not to ever believe they're alone, because they're not, are they?
No.
You got brothers and sisters who you served with, and you got people right here who care about you and appreciate what you've done. You should never, no veteran should ever go without feeling somebody's there with them and helping them. So let's spread that word. Sean, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you for joining us right here on the Calling Podcast. Again, Sober Life Studios brought to you by One Brother, One Sister. You can go to onebrother1sister.com if you'd like to help us in our mission to train first responders and veterans in dealing with communication issues, trauma, and addiction and mental health. So just jump on board. But I'm going to tell you, like this show, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye now.